Hello. Over the last year or so, I've been building up a corpus of short videos about practice, about conscious sensuality, about exercises, about philosophical and thought process background of what I do. But it occurred to me that what you really could use is a bit of a framework of the background of Tantra to see where all the lessons and information that I give you fit into the big picture. And I tried to fit it all into one video, but very quickly it became apparent that one video isn't enough. So I've decided to make it a short series of a couple of videos that follow each other in a logical sense to make you aware of what Tantra is actually about, what kind of misconceptions there are, and how you can move forward with the knowledge of the information in this set of videos and the stuff that I've given you before and that I will continue to give you afterwards. I hope this will be useful for you to determine where your path is going to lead you next. How would you define Tantra? There's a couple of elements that are pretty clear. For one thing, Tantra relies on teacher and student relationships. There are lineages of teachers and students that go back hundreds of years. There's an element of embodied mindfulness, and the use of rituals is very, very important. Tantra rejects arbitrary rules, which makes it a very rebellious stream of philosophical ideas. It accepts all people, irrespective of nationality, age, gender, what you can come up with. It gives direct access to the divine, which is probably not something that Buddhist monastic culture is very keen on. And last but not least, Tantra has a strong belief in sensual experiences of the body as part of our connection with the divine, which is, in the grand scheme of things, fairly unusual in terms of a philosophical movement. You have to understand that Tantra is not really a religion. It is a set of philosophical beliefs and understandings that may have started out as a religion next to many others at the time, and then has developed into an underlying layer within the surrounding religions like Hinduism and later Buddhism. Why is that? A lot of the beliefs that Tantra holds are universals. One of the big ones is the understanding that there is an inherent duality to life. But at the same time, that duality is actually a unity. If that sounds strange to you, there is a reason why Tantra needs a certain level of teaching to understand this. But again, this belief is not uncommon in other religions in that area. What does it mean? Tantra believes in the inherent existence of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and they both represent certain aspects in life: power and consciousness, light and dark. There is a duality to everything. But, like with all the other dualities, they cannot exist without their counterpart. What is light without dark? What would the divine masculine be without the divine feminine to balance against and to bounce off against? At the same time, while those two are seen as two separate ideas, because they cannot exist without the other, they also inherently represent a level of unity. There's a difference and a balance between the two. And that difference and balance is best represented with the well-known yin-yang symbol, with the black and white drops that chase each other within a circle, and that cannot really form a circle without the other. In addition, each of those drops actually has a dot of color of the other drop within it, to show that they are really interdependent, and that within the dark there's an element of light, and within the light there's an element of dark. Or, speaking in tantric language, within the divine masculine there has to be a seed of the divine feminine, and the other way around, or it wouldn't work. A second element of Tantra is an inherent understanding that nature is a part of us. There's a huge connection to the world around us, which can be identified as yet another aspect of the duality. In this case, not between masculine and feminine, but between what is considered me and what is considered everything else. And again, part of the teachings of Tantra deal with that gray zone where we separate ourselves from everything else, but at the same time we strive to be part of it. And at the same time, the universe around us strives to be a part of us. If Tantra is so similar to Buddhism and Hinduism in the background, and it's only slightly different in its practice, why didn't it just dissipate into either of the two religions? Well, there's good reason for that. Hinduism has a huge focus on caste, which makes Hinduism a very harsh religion to follow for certain people. On the side of Buddhism, there is a focus on male monastic traditions, which excludes females to a large degree, and it also excludes anyone who cannot afford to spend their time in a monastery. Tantra straddles the two again, because it is very libertarian. There is an element of rebellion to Tantra. There is an element of body positiveness to a degree where certain teachers were very much in favor of sexual orgies. And on the other hand, you had teachers who were very meditative and very open to include people from any caste that would come in, including women, which makes Tantra an ideal candidate for anybody who is not part of the goal group of either Buddhism or Hinduism. Besides, Tantric traditions are a lot more vibrant and easier to understand than some of the hardcore elements of Hinduist and Buddhist beliefs. If we're looking at a timeline, all of this happened before the mid-first millennium, and that's just the written down record. It's likely that all these traditions existed a long time before that, and they had a long time to develop separately and together, and that's what explains the whole mix of things, where Buddhism has elements of Hinduism, Hinduism has elements of Buddhism, Tantra connects the two, has separate elements that are not as present in the others, but ultimately they're very much aligned with each other, and there's a huge overlap. For all these reasons, there was a huge attraction for people to follow Tantric practices, and that was especially the case in the 11th and 12th centuries. Some Tantric teachers based their teachings on the idea that human suffering, as understood in Buddhism, is based on the notion of disconnect between the body and the mind. And being true Tantrics, that idea of duality between body and mind didn't really play out for them. Their idea was, if we combine the two and we allow both of them to live, then we end suffering. And that is the reason why Tantra is often seen as a physical exploration rather than a mental or spiritual one. Tantra was alive and kicking until the invasion of India by the Mughals in the 13th century. It went underground, and it stayed underground for a long time, until it re-emerged. But that's the subject for the next video.